God judges a people, he judges them according to their sins. Is also, as Pharaoh was standing there, maybe on his boat, maybe waist deep in the water himself, the water around him turns into blood in such a way that it's not expressly said here, but I think it's intentional, in such a way to expose the murder, the slaughter, the abortion, the genocide that he had propagated against the Hebrews just back in chapter 1, when he was commanding the midwives to kill the sons on the birthing stool very, very secretly, but actually instead of doing that, because they refused to obey, he sent in the police force. He sent in his armies. They took the young boys and they threw them into the Nile in this way of convenience. They don't have to butcher a child. They don't have to use their blades. They simply throw them as a sacrifice to Hapi, and away they walk, and now it's as if God is reminding them of their sins. Pharaoh and all his servants, they are seeing the water of the Nile turn into the very blood that they spilt from those young Hebrew infants. God is judging them according to their idols and exposing their sins. And it is my thesis that God does the very same thing today. He's not a God that has changed. He's not a God that in this New Testament time, whatever it is after the cross, he stops dealing with people according to their nations and their societies. Of course, he still does. And he still judges people in such a way that is according to their idols and in a way that exposes their sins. For example, in our world, it is as if God looks at us and says, you worship sex and seek to normalize it in every sphere. And he makes sexual abuse and sexual assault normative. We want to throw off the norms of marriage, as if the early feminists would say that women are more than just marriage objects. There's more glory than the home and the family, etc. And so now, largely in our society, women are not marriage objects, just sex objects, without husbands. The feminists taught women to despise the home and their responsibility over it, and because of the feminist movement, yes, inspired by the same demons now, we have the highest rates of female homelessness and abuse and singleness in history. Men worked to normalize and monetize pornography and idolize godless sex, and now God sends over generations plagues of sexual dysfunction and diseases. We have this idol of spending and consumerism, throwing all of our substance, our time, our money in order to gain more and more objects of possessions, and it comes back to bite us through inflation that makes the cost of living near impossible. God judges according to our idols. God, we say that we want God out of the government so that his laws don't oppress us and control us, and then government has no restriction over it and seeks to destroy the people. It acts like a god and steals from you through rising taxes and inflation, and it dispenses rights to you only as it pleases. We saw that back in chapter 1, the slow progression of tyranny. Or we idolize the drugs, the medicines. We attempt at immortality to make ourselves live forever. We throw away the restraints of ethical research in order to trust the gods of big pharma. And then that unethical medical research releases a virus upon the world that cripples us all and makes trillions for big pharma. Men prioritize work and money and reject their family, and then after them come up a generation of untrained fools who inherit their wealth and destroy everything that the fathers built. A nation or a culture comes to despise masculinity and call it toxic. They rather neutered soft men, and sure enough, history shows us that masculine hard men from another country will be pleased to march in the form of an army and take that nation for itself. Or we have the idol of Darwinism, where in order to avoid the silly creation myth that the Bible gives to us, we embrace this process that makes us the evolved peak species in all of creation. And we're not with relation to a God, but simply our own evolution and power. And yet it becomes the silliest creation myth of all, now being one of the most laughable anti-scientific theories that there is. The theory that says that chaos gives lives to ordered biological beings In fact, removes all human value, because all you are is an evolved primate. And it in fact again gives rise to chaos, the 20th century being the most bloody of all, inspired by the ideas of the survival of the fittest and might makes right. According to our idols, God judges us. According to our sins, in order to expose them, God judges societies. God will not be mocked. Humans and societies reap what we sow. If we are reaping sin into idolatry, into false gods, then we will be judged along with our false gods. They will not remain. There is only one kingdom. There's only one king. There's only one supernatural being whose kingdom and glory and worship will remain forever and ever. And it's none of the false gods, the fallen angels, the Masonic devil. It's none of those things. It is Jesus Christ. Only those who submit and trust in Jesus Christ find salvation that is lasting, find satisfaction that is true and deep and eternal.